Hey, what's up? It's Jake. So next thing we're going to go over is inputs and outputs. So what I mean by inputs is input variables. So when you have a file that has numerous instances of using the same values, instead of typing them over and over and over and over, you can replace them with a variable and then manage the variable. So if you need to update it everywhere, you just update it in the one variable place. Pretty common in code, right? But you can also do this in Terraform. So what we're going to do is I'm going to replace this name value here and here with a variable that basically says my instance. So if I were to run Terraform plan right now, what you're going to see is the values for name, for the name tag of the instance, and for the name of the security group to be my instance. So just wait for this plan to finish. So here we can see the name of the security group is my instance, and the tag for the instance name is my instance. So I'm showing you this now because I'm going to change it, and then we're going to run plan again, and we're going to compare the values. So we're going to do that. You create a new file, and you call it variables.tf, and then I'm just going to say variable, and I'm going to name it. So I'm going to name it instance underscore name, and I'm going to give it a description equals name of my EC2 instance and SG. I wouldn't really do this with security group in real life. I'm just showing you an example. The type is going to be a string, and then the default value, default value is going to be my instance, just like that. So now that you have a variable file, you go back to main, and where you would have typed my instance here and here, you're going to get rid of that string, and you're just going to type var, which will point to your variable file, and then whatever you have declared, I should probably spell this correctly, variables, there we go. Whatever variables you have here, you can just reference those after the var dot. So I'm going to do instance dash name, and then I'm going to copy this, and I'm also going to replace the name of the security group with the same variable instance. One thing you'll see a lot in the cloud with variables is like region or instance type, T2 micro, something like that, that you would use in a lot of places. If I wanted to have that here as well, I could make another one. Just copy this and make another variable called instance type, for example. And I could do just a description, type of EC2 instance, and then the value would be t2.micro. So in main, and while I only use this here once, in future edits, I might use this in other places. So I can do instance underscore type. And if we go to variables, make sure this is correct. Variable instance underscore type. Okay, so I've got a variable here. And if I had other things I wanted to create variables for, I could just keep going, right? So now I'm going to save my main file. I'm going to save my variables file, and then I'm going to run another Terraform plan. And you'll see here, I should get the T2 micro value for instance type, and I should get the my instance name for the tag and the name of the security group. So I'll go ahead and see what that looks like. Here we go. So the name of my security group is my instance, and the name tag is my instance, and the instance type is T2 micro. So that's how input variables work. And then the last thing we're going to do is this output. So as we clean this file up and make it a little more dynamic, easier to manage, you can actually cut and paste. So we're going to cut that completely out, and I'm going to make a new file called outputs.tf, And I'm just going to paste that exactly the way it is here. And if I run another Terraform plan, what you're going to see is it does the exact same thing. And it says changes to outputs, DNS equals known after reply. Well, you'll see the exact same thing down here because it knows to read that file and treat it as such. So there you go. That is your input variables and outputs. One thing I'll do right before I finish is I'm just going to Terraform format and make sure it fixed up my variables file. So all of these equal signs are now in line. And if you wanted to, you could also run a Terraform. Since you're changing your format, I always do a validate just to make sure none of the formatting changes change the functionality of my configuration and it's still valid. And we could go ahead and run a Terraform apply and run that and destroy it when we are done, and it will work just fine. So anyways, that is the inputs and the outputs and how to use variables. So I hope that helps. And if you want to go back through your files and update any variables you might have, the auto scaling group would be a great opportunity because this main file has a lot of information in it. And if you wanted to change any of this, you could go ahead and do that. But if not, then I hope you learned something and move on to the next thing.